Welcome to the stream tonight, guys. I'm Vulture Culture, and we have GForce OB-1 here, the brand new plugin recreation of the 1978 Oberheim OB-1, the only officially endorsed plugin by Tom Oberheim himself. Tonight's live stream, we're going to be reviewing this bad boy. We'll start off by checking out some presets, and then we will get into some sound design. Really excited. Thank you for GForce for sending this over for me to check out on this live stream. Always a fan of what they're doing. I think that GForce sets the new standard for analog recreations of plugins. They just sound incredible. So why don't we jump right on in to some of the patches here. One of the things I love about the way they lay out their patches is if it has this little A symbol here, that basically means, hey, this is a really good patch. So let's check out a bunch of these. Let's start with Bigu Rebu. I mean, come on. And this one, you immediately get the hugeness of it. Just an incredible thing. I guess I was a little ignorant. I thought until I turned this on to create the intro. The intro, by the way, was all OB-1 except for the drums, which was actually GForce DMX. But I didn't realize this was going to be a polyphonic synthesizer. I was expecting it to be more like the SEM, where it was just a monophonic thing. This one's called Watch Out. Brings me right back to the old school. Dawn 2049, this is one of the string layers I used for the intro here, so... Moving on to 313 Boulevard. We got Aftertouch routed to the filter. You can see that over here in the keyboard filter amount here. And it sounds really, really great, actually. In the past, I found the Aftertouch on GForce plugins to be a little too reactive for whatever reason. That doesn't feel like the case here as much. We can increase a little attack here and see if we get more of like a soundtrack. Sort of sound. Brian Olafson, welcome to the stream. Can't wait to hear some percussive snappy bass. It's in here. And this is a great example, I believe. We can swap the keyboard mode over here and we can actually see the sequencer in here. And we've got 3 lanes. We've got, what is this for macro? We've got velocity and pitch. So we could set different notes depending on what we're looking to do. Really cool. We get that super authentic resonance here. We've got pluck signs, if I recall. This is one of my faves. I'm always a slut for anything that sounds that beautiful. Sounds like Rise of the Robots. I don't know what that one. One Must Fall 2097. I am so far behind on the pop culture references, Mighty Pinto. But yeah, it is just a super dreamy sound, Estelle. Some of the patches in this are just unreal. I am very shocked by how unique some of these patches are. I always know you're going to have great quality patches when it comes to GeForce. I mean, of course, it's got to be that way. They set the standard. But what I'm surprised by is how, this doesn't just sound like, those analog mono synths from the 70s, right? The synth is from 78, if I recall correctly. Really great sort of lo-fi. We have control over the noise. We can go from white to pink. So here's the same patch, but with pink noise. Yeah. And of course, we've got the giant delay and reverb. I love how it sounds on this particular plugin. I don't always think the reverb is the perfect fit, but over here, man, this is the intro. I use this. Something like... Yeah. That's the bassline sound I used for Aquatic Ambiance at the beginning. And of all of the bass patches, I don't know why this is. This one just is so perfect. It's like clean, punchy. It just gets it done. Really good. Zazilla the Great, welcome to the stream. How's it going? This is a great one. I love these sorts of dynamic LFO sounds, a la the CS70M. Zozilla, I actually saw that you had a video out ahead of me. I was a little jealous of you, but I'm sort of locked into Wednesday nights at 9, right? This is a really cool one, too. This is like a Stratocaster E-piano, so a lot of fun here. Definitely a vibe, for sure. Really great stuff. Bergamot Collector, I think this was a good one too. So I'm controlling that. It's a big reverb. I'm controlling that with Aftertouch. pretty aggressive resonance past 60% or so. BOC in time. Really good. Shout outs to Aquatic Borealis. I feel like you might like this one. Okay, Aphex Bells. Really crazy low end too, right? What do you guys think of this synthesizer so far? Pretty impressive presets. Out of like synthesizer presets, I haven't heard any this good in a while. Very interesting. Yeah, so Inktomi is only available for Windows right now, Jay. Working on it. I've got to figure out how to be able to create an installer for VST3s for Macs. So I will get there, I promise. It's just, you know, it's hard to get it all done. Dreaming of Tears. I mean, come on. Yeah, just incredibly evocative. I mean, immediately you have an entire song right there. Jay, have a great night. Thank you for dropping in. Dubstation says the presets are so good it's hard to focus on the synth itself. Yeah, you know, you could convince me that I was listening to Omnisphere presets because they sound so good. But of course, Omnisphere has the ability to load like samples and stuff. This is all done just with a couple of VCOs and a VCF, you know? So that's pretty incredible. Yes, Brian, there is a MIDI CC learn function, so you could map any of this to a MIDI controller. I haven't bothered to do it today. Yeah, this is something quite marvelous. The resonance is cranked on this one. I didn't know that the effects were done by Sine Vibes. That's awesome. Yeah, his stuff is crazy. Just such a incredible thing. Don't know how to pronounce that one. Definitely a few patches that feel kind of Berlin schooly. Very cool. Man, just insane, isn't it? Yeah, just sick. Drifting flutes. When I heard this one, I immediately wanted to use it as a lead in the beginning of the song, but I just decided to go with aquatic ambiance and really great. The breathiness is on aftertouch. Yeah, just awesome. Starfield Forever, welcome to the stream. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. That's the goal here, is to help new people get into becoming synth sickos like the rest of us here. Filter resonance. Yes, Zozilla, thank you very much for reminding people to hit the like button. I'd like to ask you guys to hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet. I know you guys are tired of hearing YouTubers sell out and be like, please hit the subscribe button. But I really couldn't do what I do here and continue to make content if you guys don't continue to subscribe. Like, I know that sounds crazy, but it really does make a big difference to getting the videos out there. If people slow down on subscriptions, which I've seen the past month, the video views go downhill quickly. It's the fucking algorithm, right? So you'd be helping me with that bastard a lot if you'd hit the subscribe button. So I appreciate it very much. Thank you. Slow motion dive. It's going up to a pretty high CPU hit on my computer. I've got an extremely beefy computer that I built myself, but it's there for sure. This one's called Page 2. I'm assuming is a reference to Page 2 on the OB-1. Yeah, just beautiful, isn't it? Garage sale OBX. Really funny one. Lead time 3080. Damn. On the tweak button to the right, there's oversampling 2x. Yeah, so we can take it up to 6x just for fun and see how the how my CPU handles it. Phase off. Oh yeah, that easily like tripled the CPU load. So that's a thing if you care about that. In this case, we're listening to this with YouTube compression, which is unfortunately AAC. So a lot of the times you get a lot of hiss on the top end anyways, especially with like raw oscillators. So I'm pretty sure through YouTube, probably doesn't make a difference anyways, but I'll leave it on 6x just because I'm not doing anything else with the computer really. Starfield Forever says, that's a software synth, right? Dumb question. They don't usually sound as good as hardware, right? The OB-1 is a hardware synth. If you're asking me, is this a software synthesizer? Yes, it is. And don't usually sound as good as hardware is an interesting statement. Certainly software has struggled to sound quite as magical as analog synths, but I think it's possible, and I think GeForce leads the way when it comes to making really analog sounding plugins. So I would just say use your ears and make a decision for yourself. Of course, I don't have a OB-1 from 1978 to shoot this out against. So I can't tell you that the resonance sounds exactly authentic to the original, but to my ears, the resonance sounds really good, and that's usually where software synthesizers fail. Would kill it if they made an iOS version. I think they do. Am I silly, or is that different than AU? Park Royal Stab. That's got that, it's just, you know, old school rave. So yeah, Stike horns. Oh, it went away. Ice piano. Oh, so this reminds me of like Iceland's from the MS-20, MS-2000. Although it is different. Yeah, just gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous sounds. OBC3PO3. Wow, just an awesome, awesome acid line. You needed a distortion pedal to really like completely get there. And I'm sure it doesn't sound like a 303, right? But pretty damn good. Sometimes you need a patch like that, I suppose. Techno sequence. So to me, like on the topic of software versus hardware, this is one of those things that really shows the quality of the work that went into the filter. So resetting this to techno sequence here, we've got this patch sounding like this. And normally with like a shitty software synthesizer, you know, you could tweak things. The resonance is going to get super annoying. Listen to how different this sounds just by tweaking the frequency, because of how much of the sound is resonance, but it doesn't sound bad or fake at all. So you really get a sense there, unlike a lot of software where it sort of falls apart at the resonance. With this one, it's just rocking and rolling. Delta minus. Fifth, another level funk. Yeah, that's that sound. 1984 Toyota catalog. Definitely kind of a fun one. A deeper growl. Really great. Slice of heaven. A good enough job sort of illustrating just like how incredible the presets are for this. It's worth the intro price, which is, by the way, 50% off, right? Just for the presets. They're that good. Why don't we go into an init patch and actually have fun with the synthesizer, try to pick it apart a bit. So we've got the control here. We got mono, legato, and poly, so we can play full notes, but it's nice that we can put it in mono, so this is more like the original software, I'm sorry, the original hardware. And let's crank the resonance to 25% and do a nice little filter sweep. Sounds pretty good. 50%. Oh. Very vowely. It's actually kind of funny to me. I make mistakes. Welcome to the stream. Let's crank it up a little further and you'll see. Right around 60, it's going to go out of control. Oh my God, my ears. Oh my God, my ears. So the difference there between like 59% and 61 is very intense, which I'm assuming is just like the hardware. Let me see if I can push that further. And then that just gets more and more distorted. And so if we add keyboard tracking, right? We can turn the VCO off entirely, so we're not hearing anything, right? But we can crank the resonance, and now we have... You can hear how much distortion is built into that. It almost sounds like a sawtooth. Versus down here, it should be more like a sine. It's like a wave shaper from 65% to 100. Oh, and you're right, Zozilla. We're in 2-pole, so let's put in 4-pole and see what happens. Oh, it's actually cleaner, interestingly. I'm going to put it into poly mode and use a little envelope amount here. This is giving it that Iceland sound, right? It's just a little thick, but we can't really do much about that because we have the waveforms off, right? Let's see if the high pass filter, let's turn it on and see if we can do something with that. It's actually resonant. It's pretty resonant. Interesting. That's really not going to fix our problem. But we can crank some reverb, of course. We can just put it on preset 5, right? The 2-pole... Turn the decay down a bit, just so I can talk. 2-pole gets a lot more distortion in there. I mean, how quickly did we go from... I mean, we didn't even check out the oscillators and stuff. I sort of was intending just to do some filter sweeps, and now we're deep into a pretty damn good recreation of Iceland's. Let's see here. We've got the LFO. We could use the LFO to modulate this, right? So what we could use is the sine wave. Could I modulate the VCF with any sort of noise source? If Zozilla, you know how to do that, let me know. Oh, of course we could turn noise up into the filter. We don't really hear much of a difference, do we? But it's there, interestingly. So I'm going to feed just a little bit from the LFO here. So we get a little audio rate, right? XLFO, right. Thank you for reminding me, Zozilla. Starfields, I don't know that I know any Vangellas like right off the top of my head, unfortunately. So I'm going to reset the LFO amount here. But then what I can do is, what do I go? So noise on the bottom here, right? So brown noise is nice. But what do? Do I need to send that to the filter, right? So I'm going to select that. and then just add a little bit. Wow, we gotta get like a really small amount, right? So we gotta use shift and try to get like, what's the amount gonna be? Yeah, it's definitely a little warbly even at that was a very small amount. So, wow. We gotta, Todd said, the cool thing is, this is as close to playing the actual instrument for many of us. If I bought a hardware OB-1, the bank would show up to repo it while I was playing a good tune. Ambient Machine, welcome to the stream. How's it going, my friend? Yes, Vangelis is a word I've probably pronounced on this channel wrong a lot of times. A name, that is. Almost want to save it as a patch, but it's pretty quick to, you know, create something like this. So just to go over that again, what XLFO and XADSR, I covered this in my Oberheim OB-X video, but every single parameter in the synthesizer can be modulated with its own LFO and ADSR. So if you ignore this section, you're more or less using the synthesizer as it was intended to be used, but of course you can pump it up if you want. So I'm going to init this again. And so we're back to just a simple thing. Can I get some scum cheers in the chat? I forgot to start drinking here. So I got this Brewdog Easy Street. And I would just like to say thank you guys for making every Wednesday night here on YouTube the place to be. Thank you for GForce for sending this over to us to check out and for making such an awesome product. And yeah, cheers, guys. I really appreciate it. Can I get some scum cheers in the chat? Oh, we're going to get there. We're going to get into some pitch modulation. So we'll have some fun with that. So jumping in, thank you guys for the emoji spam. I always appreciate it. Okay, so why don't we get into a little bit of sound design? So we've got Sawtooth. We can take it over to triangle here, but then we could also got some interesting middle range stuff here, and then over here and that can be controlled by the LFO. So this is our pulse width, right, going on, and what we can do is increase the LFO amount, right? Right, so it sounds pretty good. Let's add some release. Pretty good pulse width modulation. So that's pretty straight ahead. We could do the same thing on the second oscillator here, and then same idea, just use the same wave modulation from the LFO. One thing about the GUI is it's a little harder to make out than other GForce stuff. I understand that they're trying to keep it in line with the actual hardware, but certain things are a little bit harder to see in this plugin. It's a minor gripe. It's not something you wouldn't have too much trouble with, but let's bring in VCO2. Let's add some detune. We can split it by an octave as well, so we can start to get, you know, a really thick. as far as like a polysynth goes, it's pretty crazy. DeCarmick asked me about the OBX8 2.0 firmware update. You can do multiple waveform types on each oscillator, just like you can on something like a Prophet 600. Starfield Forever, yes, every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. That's my time. What is that? 3 hours earlier in California. So that would be 6 p.m., right? Am I following how time? We do a live stream here, checking out something to do with synthesizers every time. We'll be checking out some hardware synthesizers next week. I try to do a good mix of hardware synthesizers and software. So yeah, Dave Serber, welcome to the stream. How's it going? You might have already been here, but DeCarmick, it's difficult for me to recommend OBX8 at this point because TO5 is very similar, has better modulation options, and is quite a lot less. 4 in the morning there, so you're over in Europe, right? I appreciate you staying up so late, Zozilla. And if we put it back into mono mode, we can really get more how it would have sounded, right? Just sounds really great. We could crank the vintage up a bit so we could get it a little bit wonkier. Might even have to bring the fine tune a little bit, you know, into control. Let's just bring it to 0, but just crank the vintage, right? Awesome, Starfield. Damon Descent, welcome to the stream. Yeah, it sounds really great with the vintage cranked. Don't really need detune at all if you have that. So then we do have a high pass filter here. Does someone understand like why that thing is so fucking ripping? Like, is that just how it was? It's a lot of resonance, right? Am I silly? What does this do, by the way? Is this a sub oscillator? It is a sub oscillator, so we could actually turn this one back up and so that's pretty insane. The number of, you've got basically 2 oscillators and 2 subs. Pretty incredible. We also have noise. So if I turn all of that off, we can check out the noise sound. Or pink. White or pink. In this case, I might actually go white. The thickness is thick. You know, that's without using the filter at all. Harrison, welcome to the stream. How's it going? Yeah, binaural mode is something that synth should have had all along. You know, the OB8s and stuff, you could always like pan the voices left and right, and they should have just had that from the beginning. You could do it with a bunch of other synthesizers, including synths as old as the Prophet Rev 2. Yeah. So we'll give it about 50% resonance and then use the envelope to get a little bit of a brass. Add some release too, of course, that's important. Very nice, really big sort of analog pad sound here. I mean, we could turn on the delay and chorus and effects, right? And it needs a little keyboard tracking. Harsh that top end. There we go. Passes the analog pad test pretty well. I'd love to hear this actually versus something like a TO5 or an OBX8. See how close we could get the actual hardware. Yeah, if I got my shit together, I could save them and send them. I should really, like, when I make patches like this, just upload them to the member section of this YouTube channel. I feel bad giving out a patch, though, where I just turn the chorus delay and reverb on. Like, I didn't even attempt to program anything. I'm really more just playing around with it to see, yeah, does this, like, give you the mojo that I'm looking for? And then if you, so that's with a lot of resonance, but if we turn the resonance off, we'll start to get more of that soundtrack territory. We can take this, we can turn the wave mod off, and then go back to, what was the first wave here? Yeah, let's just go to sawtooth on both of these guys, and then we'll detune them. Glad you stopped by to drop your opinion. a very funny thing, your imposition that somehow I'm the guy who's not into hardware. I happen to think this software sounds incredible. So let's initialize it again. Let's go back over to the pulse width waves. I want to try something else this time. So instead of using, we're going to go all the way to narrow the envelope here to control the pulse width. And so we'll crank that all the way and see what this sounds like. I guess I went the wrong way. I wonder if there's any way to kind of control that a little bit better. Maybe we don't wave mod it as far. Yeah, I think that's going to be the trick, is to just take it a little further, but we can slow the decay down. So the goal here is to be able to create something like the MZ string patch on the Matrix 6, one of my favorite patches of all time. Pliskin rightly points out that some hardware synths are just as digital as software synths, of course. I'm not using the LFO right now. I'm using the VCF envelope. Unless that would somehow do something? Yeah, I didn't think so. If we add some attack, we can emphasize that, but that's not really what I want. So we're going to just kind of do the same thing. We're going to set the waveform to about the same point and the wave mod to about the same point and bring in oscillator 2. The vintage to taste, right? Increase the keyboard tracking. We'll do like 50% maybe, right? Pull mode? Yeah, I think that's going to give us closer to that sound, right? Wow. How's it going, Irish Music Co.? Bit of fine tune to this, like we don't need much. Well, I think I saw noise modulating the filter, right? So we can actually use noise to modulate the resonance. So why don't we check that out real quick? So now we're going to get this sort of wah. I'm using a sine wave right now, but we could change that, of course. We could have it go to sample and hold, right? Different. Take that back a little just so we don't. That's a very interesting sound using noise on the resonance here. Right? So why don't we take it further? We can take the fine tune and have that drifting out a little bit more. Slow the time down a bit. So a very subtle amount is again increasing the vintagey sound that we're getting. Right? So now we can take this further. We can do some filter FM with the filter. So why don't we increase some to this? Is there any way to route the oscillator directly to the filter? That would be really cool. Clean it up by adding some delay. Let's bring in the sub oscillator or two. You don't need much. From some decay and sustain on the amp envelope. We'd bring it to a more subtle place. To get a really cool, unique patch. no effects. So yeah, with that, guys, I think that's actually a pretty good place to call it for tonight. I know sometimes I go a little bit longer than that, but I kind of feel like this plugin's just so good that I don't really need to oversell it, right? I just think it sounds great. So yeah, just a really big fan. Monty says the only soft synth that gets me horny is a soft synth called Surge. Check that out sometime. Well, I definitely have to if you say so. What do you guys think? I think it was a pretty incredible piece of software, personally. I'm just very impressed by it. I don't know, just very good. And right now, yeah, 50% off. Really cool deal from GForce to be able to get this plugin for a really awesome price. You know, if it was monophonic, right? If it was more like Oberheim SEM, where you could only use it for basses and leads and maybe arpeggios and stuff, then I don't know that it would be, for me, something I would necessarily go out and purchase. But considering this sounds so good, and it's kind of like OBE in the sense, like this is their big ass polyphonic synthesizer. I think it's just an incredible buy, and they just keep knocking it out of the park. This was really crazy. DMX was really crazy. Impostor's insane. Yeah. So Zilla does point out, though, it's a pretty good CPU hit. So I would just say get the demo first, try out the demo, and make sure you're not like crashing your computer with it. Taryn Gray asks, do you feel like you would run this through any outboard analog gear just to bring some real warmth to it, or you feel like it stands without it? Truthfully, I don't think I would run it through any outboard gear, except for maybe something like the MIDI Verb 2 reverb, just because I like terrible sounding reverbs, and the reverb in from GForce just sounds so great. Tone Pusher, how's it going? I've been meaning to check out your new video on 90s industrial drums. I haven't been able to look at it yet. Yeah, I really love Tone Pusher's channel. If you guys haven't subscribed to him yet, please go check him out right now. Really great content. Zazilla says, it reminds me of the Prologue raw sound, don't you think so? Yeah, I could hear that. Definitely a very raw sort of equivalent. A little bit of a dark thing that the Prologue has as well. Unfair Potato, welcome to the stream. This is my first live. I don't have the means at the moment, but I went through to see how much in AUD it would be, created a GeForce account, etc. So that's as much of an endorsement as I can make. Yeah, you know, this is save up and take your time with it. I don't recommend, like, despite me checking out gear and software all the time on this channel, I do not want people to just like buy everything, right? I want you guys to make good choices. And that's hopefully what I'm here to do, is to display the shit so you can hear it and go, okay, that one sounds okay. Maybe I'll wait on that one. I think GForce OB-1, though, out of the software I've covered, really goes to the top of the list for me. Really cool. Yeah, so bit of distortion, of course. Glad to hear Pliskin is a fan of Tone Pusher as well. DeCarmick asks, if one can afford an X8, would that be a solid all-around main gun analog? Especially with 2.0, sure. It's $5,000. I mean, you can get a really good all-around analog for a lot less than that, especially vintage if you're into big bad vintage sounds, right? Having said that, you'll probably pay for it pretty close to that if you want one with the hands-on knobs and everything. But I mean, for me, you know, OBX8's just hard for me to recommend at this point. I would be much more willing to sign my name behind recommending TO5 or even a used OB-6, right? So, yeah. That's my opinion, though. Desktop module 3500 is still a fucking lot. I've spent that much on a synth before, but I don't know that I recommend it. You're also catching me. I just finished recording a new video. I always do a video January 1st talking about the best synths to buy of the year. Now I've done a video halfway or so through the year talking about the best vintage synths to buy. So I basically break it down the same way as I do in my year, beginning of the year video where I really do a deep dive on the market. Well, I'm doing the same thing, but with vintage synths. So that video is going to be coming out soon-ish. It's going to be, I spent at least 5 hours recording. So think about that. It's like 5 hours of footage of me talking to the camera, and I'm gonna have to cut that down. So it's gonna be a while. Definitely want to get it under the hour mark. 45 minutes would be great for that video. But yeah, OB-6 would be great. I don't know. I'm just not sold on spending that much money, especially when Polybrute 12 exists. Like right now, the synths that I think are worth the muscle car synth money are Polybrute 12 and Super Gemini. Aside from that, when we're talking ultra premium analogs, I'm just not seeing it with the sequential stuff right now. When the year it came out, OBX8, yeah, that was a jaw-dropping piece of gear. Now already there are so many synthesizers that, I think the polyphonic aftertouch on Polybrute 12 is game-changing. It's more than just poly aftertouch. It's like an envelope in and of itself. It's crazy. You should definitely check that one out if you want to spend that kind of money. Yeah. So Zilla says, for those who need drums in a sequencer, Syntact is excellent because the effects rack analog drive is a superb way to warm up your software synths. AK says, make sure you sign in if you have other GForce synths. I'm getting $10 off on top of the 50%. That's a great tip, AK. Thank you for dropping that in the chat. By the way, how are you doing tonight? DeCarmick says, one advantage for apartment dwellers is that the desktop modules are smaller than the Polybrute. So if you want to go smaller, I recommended Nina by Melbourne Instruments in my video this year. So to me, Nina is really an awesome synthesizer and worth checking out. And those motorized knobs, that's a game changer in my opinion too. So that's something that it also has on something like OBX8. It's got effects and everything built in, and it's cheaper than, or around the price point of OBX8. It's always had native MPE, which OBX8 is only adding now, things like that. So for me, I think that is more my personal take on it. But of course, I also understand, like, this synth back here, the CS70M, is ridiculously expensive, right? I really could never recommend this synthesizer to anybody because the cheapest one in the world right now is like $13,000. However, I love Blade Runner, and this is about as close as you're going to get to that sound in a vintage synth. I do cover that in my upcoming video on vintage synths, like what's the best synths to buy if you want to get that Blade Runner sound, but you want to spend, I think 1,100 was the most I recommended, and then as cheap as 350 or something like that. What synths are good to go for? Vintage synths I'm speaking to. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for hanging out. This was an awesome stream. I appreciate everybody for being here. Can I get one more cheers in the chat? I just want to say thank you again for you guys making this the most awesome place to be every Wednesday night here on YouTube. So can I get some scum cheers? Kids Are Wild tonight got me hanging back in the stream, but another great one. Thank you very much, Dub Station. I really appreciate it, my friend. His take says, wait before you go. So go ahead and get it in the chat. I'll wait for you. Yes, Groove Synthesis Third Wave, no doubt one of the most amazing synthesizers to come out in a long time. Ed from Earth, how you were earlier. How are you doing, my friend? I need to get some, make sure that I make some of y'all. Here we go. We're gonna add some moderators too here while I got everybody here. Let's add Crystal Love as a moderator as well, just so you guys can ban assholes if we ever have some. Nick Destruct, how's it going? Blisket, I appreciate all the emoji spam, you guys. His stakes. So his stakes. You said wait before I go. So what was it? Did I miss it in the chat? I don't think I did. Let me know what it is, his stakes, just before I run out of here. Cheers, Tone Pusher. Cheers to everybody out there. What a fun one. We need a video and you're the best to make it, comparing vintage synths by type of oscillator, number of oscillators, VCF chip, etc. Well, there will be some of that in this upcoming video, but the emphasis is more on, like, if you want to get an Oberheim type sound, what would you go for? If you want to get a Moog type sound, what would you go for? I guess I should really talk about, like, different types of oscillators. I do go into different filter chips where applicable. Thank you very much, Texans Bullpen. How's it going? But his stakes, when you say, do you want me to talk about, like, what are the different types of oscillators? Because I guess I've got a good number of oscillators in this room. Yeah. So, I don't know. I'll think about it. Comparing vintage synth by type of oscillator. Yeah, so there's definitely the Curtis oscillators versus the SSM ones. I have had this idea for a video too, where what I'll do is do like a filter sweep with 10 different synths in the room. So we'd be comparing DCOs versus VCOs, Curtis versus SSM, you know, Yamaha discrete oscillators as opposed to, you know, that we'll get like a hybrid like the DW8000 in there. We'll get the Korg Poly 800 in there just to fuck with people. Who do I remind you of, Freddie? So, let's see. Wait, I just missed it. His text says OBXD versus Juno versus Alpha Juno versus K5000. I mean, K5000, that's a lot of a synth in terms of oscillator. Andrew Tate's wiser brother. I keep hearing Andrew Tate. Someone else commented that. I don't remember who that is off the top of my head. Someone said Andrew Sheps earlier. I know him, the mixing engineer. He won the loudness war with Death Magnetic. So anyways, guys, I'll do something like that, his stakes. Keep up with me. Keep on top of me and make me do it. But anyways, guys, I just want to say continue to be excellent. Thank you so much for checking out this video, and I will see you in the next one.